An unexpected movement in the heart of the Persian Gulf may be pushing tensions between Iran and the United States to a new level, and this time, with consequences that could go far beyond the region. Initial reports suggest that Iranian forces may have attempted to intercept up to 8 oil tankers linked to American interests as they transited near the Strait of Hormuz, one of the most critical routes on the planet. At the same time, information has emerged indicating that U.S. A-10 Warthog aircraft may have been deployed to respond immediately, dramatically raising the level of military alert. But the key question now dominating analysis is clear. Are we facing an isolated action, or the beginning of an escalation that could quickly spiral out of control? According to experts, this kind of interception attempt does not usually happen randomly. Analysts believe that the use of fast boats by Iran may be part of a well-known strategy of indirect pressure, where the objective is not necessarily to seize ships, but to test limits, send signals, and assess the adversary's response. In an environment like the Strait of Hormuz, where space is limited and traffic is intense, any maneuver perceived as aggressive is enough to trigger heightened security protocols. And when it comes to oil tankers, the risk is even greater due to the potential impact on the global energy market. On the American side, the possible deployment of A-10 Warthogs draws attention for a specific reason. These aircraft are known for their close air support capabilities and their role in direct conflict scenarios, which may indicate that the response was not merely symbolic. Experts point out that the A-10 is not typically used for simple shows of presence, but rather when a rapid and potentially forceful response is required. This raises an important question. To what extent was the situation considered critical enough to justify this kind of mobilization? It is precisely this combination of actions that makes the situation so delicate. When naval and air forces operate in close proximity in a region already marked by historical tensions, the risk lies not only in planned decisions, but also in the unexpected. Analysts warn that a misinterpreted maneuver, a communication failure, or even an unforeseen movement could trigger a chain reaction. In such environments, decisions are made in seconds, often based on incomplete information, significantly increasing the risk of unintended escalation. At the same time, experts believe that this movement may be part of a broader strategic context. Iran may be trying to demonstrate that it still has the capacity to directly influence the flow through the Strait of Hormuz by employing an asymmetric warfare approach. Instead of confronting a superior power head-on, the strategy would be to make the environment unpredictable and risky, creating pressure without direct confrontation. This approach can be highly effective, especially when it involves critical global energy routes. On the other hand, the United States may be seeking to ensure that freedom of navigation is maintained at all costs. Analysts point out that allowing any form of interference in this flow could be interpreted as a loss of strategic control, something Washington is unlikely to accept. The response involving aircraft like the A-10 may have been a clear signal that any attempt at intimidation will not go unanswered. The international community is watching closely. European countries, highly dependent on oil passing through the Strait of Hormuz, may push for an urgent diplomatic solution. At the same time, international organizations may attempt to mediate the situation, although experts warn that in high-tension scenarios, diplomacy often struggles to keep pace with developments on the ground. Powers such as China and Russia are also monitoring every move with intense interest. Analysts believe these countries may carefully assess how this crisis could affect the global balance of power, as well as their own strategic and economic interests. Depending on how the situation evolves, their responses could further influence the dynamics of the crisis. On the economic front, the impact could be immediate. Even a rise in tension in the Strait of Hormuz is often enough to trigger volatility in global markets. Experts warn that oil prices could react quickly, even without an actual disruption in supply. And when that happens, the effects ripple across the global economy, affecting everything from fuel prices to supply chains. In the end, what we have is a scenario marked by uncertainty, tension, and multiple interpretations. Iran may be testing limits and seeking to maintain its influence, while the United States may be responding to preserve control and stability. But amid military movements, strategic signaling, and risk perception, one thing is clear. The Strait of Hormuz is once again at the center of a dispute that could rapidly escalate. And from this point forward, any move, no matter how small it may seem, could trigger consequences far beyond that narrow stretch of water.